The auctioneer's voice cracked like a whip across the dusty fairground, yelling out numbers I wasn't supposed to hear, and for a second I thought I was hallucinating, because the lot he was describing, lot number 14, with the cedar barn, the split-rail fencing, the stream that curved like a ribbon through the eastern pasture, that was my ranch. Not like, metaphorically, mine. No, it was literally mine. I had inherited it from my grandfather 6 years ago, built it up with my bare hands, survived a wildfire on it, fixed fences in the rain, bottle-fed a dying calf back to life on it. So when the man in the cowboy hat shouted that bidding was now open on 80 acres of creek-fed, privately owned, cattle-ready land, on behalf of Miss Jenna Lockhart, I did not calmly panic. I did not tiptoe away. I screamed. Loud. I shoved through the crowd of denim-wrapped backs and straw hats and fancy buckle folks pointing at paddles, tripping over a kid's lemonade stand and almost knocking over a live country band's amp setup. And when I reached the front of the ring and locked eyes with the woman who just tried to sell my ranch behind my back, the color drained from her face like someone had pulled the cork out of her soul. Her mouth opened like she was going to explain, or lie, or maybe faint, but all she managed was a scream that matched mine, just higher pitched, and a hell of a lot more guilty. 5 hours earlier, I had woken up the way I usually did, coffee, eggs, and cussing at a stubborn rooster named Meatball who thought he owned the place. My plan for the day had involved mending the old cattle chute and maybe catching the high school rodeo finals over at the fairgrounds if time allowed. Nothing about my routine screamed get betrayed today. But looking back, there were signs. There had been the UPS package Jenna had intercepted a week ago, claiming it was a birthday gift for her brother. The way she'd insisted I go fishing Saturday while she took care of a surprise. And yesterday, when she was overly sweet, making me my favorite blackberry cobbler, hugging me from behind and saying, "You don't know how lucky you are." She'd said it in a way that didn't sound romantic. It sounded done. At the time, I figured she was on one of her weird moods. Jenna and I weren't married, but we had history. I'd helped her get out of a nasty financial mess 2 years ago, let her stay at the ranch while she got back on her feet. And somehow she just never left. She planted flowers, painted the porch swing, took over the guest room, then the master, then the mail. So now I'm standing in a cloud of dust at the county fair auction lot, while some guy in snakeskin boots and too much mustache shuffles a sheaf of papers and insists everything's already been verified. I'm shaking. I haven't been this angry since I was 17 and my brother sold my dirt bike for beer money. I grab the mic right out of the auctioneer's hand, which gets a gasp from the crowd, and I shout, "This land is mine! I never authorized a damn thing!" The crowd quiets like someone pulled the volume knob on the sun. I can feel them watching, old ranchers, curious teenagers, a group of real estate looky-loos who came in on a bus from Austin. Jenna looks around like she's about to claim I'm an intruder. But she knows it's over. Her eyes dart from the sheriff on duty to the auction house manager to me, then she tries to speak, but all that comes out is that shriek. Hi. Furious. Like a balloon full of ego popped mid-flight. The sheriff, an old friend named Clay, steps in and separates us. He's calm but suspicious. "Let's go sort this out," he says, and I nod, hard hammering. Jenna tries to act indignant, clutching a file folder that I suspect is full of forged paperwork. I follow them to the side tent. Inside, Clay lays out the documents she submitted. My name is on them. My signature is on them. But here's the problem. I never signed a damn thing. And she made one critical mistake. She got the date wrong on the deed transfer. She wrote it as July 19th, when I had posted a picture of myself holding that day's newspaper on a fishing boat in Louisiana with my cousin Ricky, whose phone timestamped the photo and uploaded it to social media with GPS metadata. I show Clay the photo. He leans back, whistles, and looks at Jenna, who starts to go pale. "I trusted you," I say quietly, voice shaking more from disappointment than rage. "You said you needed a place to land? You landed, all right. Then tried to sell the runway." She doesn't reply. She stares at the ground like maybe if she looks hard enough it'll open up and swallow her. Clay confiscates the documents and tells Jenna she's not leaving town. Auction is halted. Buyers are refunded. But the story isn't done. As I walk back through the thinning crowd, people eye me like I'm some local legend now. One kid asks if I'm gonna sue her. Another woman offers to bake me a pie. Just for being so calm about it. Calm? I'm a volcano with a cork in it. Back home, I check my safe. Still locked. Still contains the original land title, unbroken chain of ownership since 1931. My grandfather's signature on one corner, mine on the other. Untouched. Jenna hadn't even gotten in the safe. She had fabricated her own title. Badly. A laser printer, a fake notary stamp, and a friend in the auction world who was either crooked or clueless. I text my lawyer, who immediately says, "Don't just sue. Own the whole narrative." That night, I sit on the porch with Meatball crowing beside me and think about how close I came to losing it all without even knowing. I could have gone fishing. Could have gone to the rodeo. Could have spent the whole day never knowing my land was being auctioned off under false pretenses until it was too late. But something told me to go to the fairgrounds. Something told me to check. Call it instinct. Call it divine timing. Either way, Jenna underestimated the one thing she should have remembered: this ranch wasn't just property. It was identity. Legacy. Blood. And I don't give up any of those without a fight. As the stars rise above the barn roof and the wind moves through the mesquite trees, I know this isn't over. This was just her first swing. But she's about to find out that I punch back. And I don't miss. By the time morning light stretched across the dry fields like a lazy dog waking from a nap, I was already in town, parked outside the records office with a thermos of black coffee and a manila folder that contained every legitimate document tied to my ranch. Title history, tax receipts, survey maps, utility bills dating back 20 years, even a photo of my grandfather in front of the barn with his old Ford tractor, and that proud look he always wore like a badge. The betrayal still stung like a mouthful of barbed wire. Jenna hadn't just tried to take something from me, she tried to erase me, overwrite my legacy with her name in cheap ink and forged forms. I stepped into the county building with a quiet, cold fury brewing in my chest. There were a few familiar faces at the counter, but I didn't stop to make small talk. I walked right up to the clerk's desk and asked to see every filing made on my parcel in the last 60 days. The woman behind the desk, Marcy, had known me since I was a kid who broke his arm falling out of a cottonwood tree. Her expression tightened when she saw the address I gave. She pulled up the digital records, her fingers tapping nervously on the keyboard. There it was. A transfer of ownership dated just 10 days ago, signed electronically by someone pretending to be me, notarized in a town I hadn't visited since high school. I asked for a printout. She handed it over silently, then leaned in and whispered, "You better fix this fast, hon. Something about it ain't right." I nodded, clutching the papers as if they were evidence in a murder trial, because in a way, they were. This wasn't just fraud. It was a knife in the back with my name on the handle. I left the records office and drove straight to the law office of Claymore and Ridge, where Old Man Ridge had been semi-retired for years but still showed up to yell at squirrels and keep the junior partners from screwing up inheritance filings. I didn't care about polite appointments. I stormed in with dirt still on my boots and betrayal in my voice. Thankfully, my go-to guy, Mitch Claymore, was in. He was the kind of lawyer who wore denim under his blazer and carried a pocket knife just because. When I laid the situation out, complete with the fraudulent deed, Mitch didn't blink. He whistled low and leaned back in his creaky chair. "This ain't just amateur hour," he muttered, flipping through the documents. "This is someone who either thinks they're smarter than they are, or someone who's done this before." That landed in my gut like a brick. I hadn't even considered that Jenna might be a serial con artist. She told me stories about hard times, about people using her, about wanting peace and quiet. But what if the whole time she was casing the place? Testing boundaries? Building up enough trust to try a land heist like she was in some rural Ocean's 11? Mitch and I came up with a plan. First, we'd file a formal challenge to the fraudulent deed, which would freeze any legal transaction on the property. Second, we'd request an emergency hearing to get a temporary restraining order against Jenna to prevent her from setting foot near the ranch. Third, and this part made me smile, we'd gather every scrap of evidence proving not only my ownership but her intent to commit fraud. That meant bank statements, messages, surveillance footage, and witnesses. I left his office feeling a little more grounded, but the fire in my chest hadn't cooled one bit. Back at the ranch, I pulled up the trail cams I'd installed months ago after a few break-ins had rattled me. One of those cameras, hidden in a lantern on the front porch, caught everything. There was Jenna, late one night, talking to a man in a silver SUV. She handed him a folder, gestured at the property, pointed to the barn and the hills beyond like she was a damn real estate agent. My stomach turned. I recognized the guy. His name was Dale Weston, a local auctioneer with a sketchy reputation and a history of cutting corners. The camera had audio. They were discussing percentages. She told him to make it quiet, and that the old fool doesn't check his email, he won't know until it's over. I paused the video, breathing hard. Old fool. That's what I was to her. A stepping stone. A naive mark she thought she could sweet-talk out of his legacy. I copied the footage and backed it up twice, sending one copy to Mitch and another to a private investigator I knew from high school who now worked out of a trailer behind the pawn shop. That night, as dusk painted the sky in lavender and gold, I sat on my porch with a notebook in my lap, writing down every moment, every sign I had ignored. The way she insisted on handling my mail. How she asked weird questions about the deed. That time she got angry when I refused to give her power of attorney just in case something ever happened to me. At the time, I thought it was romantic in a messed up way. Turns out it was reconnaissance. I was done playing the fool. I walked the perimeter of the ranch with my flashlight, checking locks, cameras, and gates. Everything secure. I called my cousin Ricky, told him I might need help watching the property for a few days. He said yes without hesitation. Family never flinched when it counted. Then I made one last call, to Jenna. She didn't pick up, but I left a message. Calm. Measured. You have one chance to walk away quietly, I said. One chance to come clean before this becomes public. I suggest you take it. Because I'm not the one who'll be embarrassed when this hits court. You are. I hung up and stared out across the land, feeling the weight of generations settle on my shoulders. This wasn't about pride anymore. It was about justice. About making sure no one ever tried to erase me from my own story again. I didn't know what tricks Jenna still had up her sleeve, but I knew one thing for certain: whatever came next, I was ready. And she wasn't. 2 days after filing the challenge with the court and submitting the video footage of Jenna handing over that folder to Dale Weston, things on the ranch seemed calm on the surface. But underneath, I could feel the tension rising like heat off the gravel road. Ricky had moved into the old bunkhouse near the south gate and brought his German shepherd, Duke, who patrolled the fence line like he was born for it. I had the cameras running on triple backup and every gate chained and welded shut with brand new locks. I even talked to my neighbor Earl, who flew crop dusters and owed me a few favors, and he agreed to do a low flyover every morning just in case someone tried to sneak onto the back 40. We weren't paranoid. We were just ahead of the game. But by Thursday afternoon, we learned Jenna wasn't done yet. It started with the sign. Big, red letters painted across a wooden board nailed to a fence post by the county road. Auction property. Trespassers will be reported. I spotted it when I was heading into town to pick up feed, slammed the brakes so hard a bag of oats nearly busted through the back window, and stomped across the ditch in a fury. The sign was brand new. Fresh nails. Still tacky paint. She wasn't just bold, she was stupid. I yanked the board down, tossed it in the bed of my truck, and called the sheriff. Sheriff Clay wasn't happy. He'd already told Jenna not to come near the ranch, and she had ignored him like he was a mall cop trying to tell someone to turn their music down. He drove out personally, took photos, and promised to file a formal warning. But that night, things escalated. Ricky and I were in the kitchen finishing up a meal when the water